Hello, everyone. Do we have any? I always like to do an introduction of anyone new that hasn't been with us before that might be joining for the first time or hasn't been here in a while, or anybody that just wants to tell us what they're up to. We're always interested in cool new projects. Any newbies?
Yep, Connor. I'm a newbie.
Welcome, Connor.
Thank you.
What's your background and when? How do we know when to call you?
Yeah, so I work for Global Aerospace Insurance Company, do aviation insurance, right? And I think Chris is on here as well. He's also from the same company, but I've been with Global for about 5 years, and I am an underwriter. Prior to that, I worked at Garmin in the aviation department out there. Graduated from K-State in aviation technology. Also a pilot for about the last 10 years and remain current. So I don't know if that
Outstanding.
helps.
That's perfect. That's what we needed to know. Welcome, Connor. Thanks for being here.
Thanks.
Anybody else that's a first timer or hasn't been here in a while that would like to do an intro?
Hey, Andrew,
Well,
sure.
yeah. Tim?
Oh, I know we've spoken before. Hi, everybody. I'm Tim. I'm with Alakai Technologies up in Massachusetts. AAM, the only US-based hydrogen fuel cell type of vehicle, and joined the team about 2 months ago, building up the business corporate aspects and working towards 5-10 year goals. So I wanted to join, just sit in and see who we could partner up with.
Outstanding. Tim, thanks so much for being here. Appreciate it. Anyone else? We're just, for those that are joining in, we're just doing some quick intros. Anybody that would like to do an intro that hasn't been to the group before or hasn't been here in a while? All right, well then, why don't we pivot to events? We've got some great ones coming up. I actually am going to see if I can drop a few of them into the notes. And particularly with Vertical Flight Society, we're lucky to have Mike Hirschberg, who is the former executive director of Vertical Flight Society for more than 10 years and is now the director of strategy, which I think, Mike, means you have to work twice as hard now because now you're wrangling all the kittens for the events, and I can't imagine that is easy work. But Mike, if you'd like to take a few minutes, we'd love to hear about what you've been working on and the upcoming events that we could jump into.
Yeah, thanks so much. And I do see Angelo Collins, who is the current executive director, in the gallery here. But I asked Andy for a couple minutes to just give a brief update on our transformative vertical flight meeting. So Andy, you can see the screen again.
Yep.
So hopefully everybody here is at least reasonably familiar with this event. So this started in 2014 as a transformative vertical flight workshop. And actually at that time, Angelo Collins, a younger Angelo Collins, was administrative chair for that. So here 11 years later, we've been doing this a long time. We have honestly the biggest and most incredible eVTOL event, in the history of mankind, which is only 15 years old, but still. So we're expecting more than 600 attendees. We've got an exhibit floor with like 40 exhibitors. We've got a short course, so anybody that needs to know more about the technical aspects of how eVTOL aircraft work, how to design them and things like that, that's the event for you. This is all in Santa Clara. Next month, February, the main course is February 6th through the 8th. We've got plenary session, and then there's 3 parallel tracks, 2 technical paper presentations on aeromechanics, and that includes helicopters, drones, advanced vertical flight aircraft, eVTOL, and then we have our invited sessions, which has an all-star lineup. Excuse me. So we've got, folks from the leading research organizations in the world coming, focusing a bit more on aerodynamics or aeromechanics, sorry. But how it's germane to both Rotorcraft and eVTOL. The second part is more focused on eVTOL. We have a special announcement that we're going to be making, or that will be made at our event. And we've got we had gotten some verbal confirmation from the FAA administrator with the current situation as of with regards to the incident last Friday. Then we're hoping he'll still make it, but we'll see. We have most of the leading eVTOL aircraft companies speaking. We've got lots of insights, stuff on electric propulsion, hydrogen electric. We're very pleased to have, I think it's Bill Spillane, the COO from Alakai speaking on hydrogen. This is kind of the first big public talk that he's given, that Alakai has given like 5 years. Piasecki, and an interesting concept from that's currently in Switzerland, but I think they're moving to the US on a hydrogen-powered business jet. We got Pivotal Air. We're looking for EHang, turns out can't make it, so we're looking for a replacement for that. But again, lots of speakers from industry, academia, and government highlighting the capabilities and the progress in developing eVTOL aircraft. So not the right screen. So it's VTOL.org/TVF. Hope you guys can make it. It's expected to sell out, so if you are considering going, please look at all the details as soon as possible. The hotel deadline actually is for the group rate is actually Monday. We're trying to get that extended, but the hotel one way or another will be also sold out in the next week or so. So hope we can see you guys there. And I didn't mention before, but I just wanted to thank Andy again for his incredible leadership of the last several years for this working group that you guys are now, and especially with its relaunch. And appreciate all of our volunteers who make great things happen, and appreciate everybody that's on this working group and interested in learning more and contributing more to advancing vertical flight.
Thanks, Mike. And for the event next month, Santa Clara is next to San Jose, and so it's easy to get to because we can fly into either the San Jose airport or San Francisco, and then just drive down. It's a quick hop down the peninsula, but it's very easy to get to, and this is going to be an amazing event, and I'm really looking forward. So thanks for all your hard work to put it together, Mike. I know it's not easy.
Thanks, Andy.
I've dropped into the chat notes a link to the Vertical Flight Society events page, as well as the page for the symposium next month, and for the big event also in Montreal in May, which is for not just AAM, but all of vertical flight that Vertical Flight Society puts on, which is their annual forum. And so I put a link to that as well. While we're on the topic of events, any others that people have on the horizon that we should know about or have gone to recently that they have some notes about that they wanted to share?
Andrew, it's Tony Drummond. How are you?
Hey, Tony.
I wanted to let you guys know that I'm at CES right now. Really cool
Awesome.
vibe going on here. I don't know if anyone else is out here. Supernal has a giant presence, if you guys hadn't seen already, on LinkedIn, which has been really good. There's a lot of chatter about air mobility here, and a lot of community obviously taking a look at air mobility, some for the first time. So really good vibe. I just wanted to share that with the crowd. Don't see a lot going on the inside, but on the outside, there's a lot of supernal going on.
I'm so glad you checked in, Tony. I was really curious, how many aircraft and or mock-ups in the AAM space are you seeing out there?
I've seen, okay, there's been some real interesting ones. There's a mock-up of an actual car. I'll see if I can drop the picture in the chat, with like rotors on top, like something so like outlandish. So there's those kind of concepts that I'm walking around like, dang, like that's not really what we're looking to, push forward here. But, there's some of that. I don't see anything like super, and I haven't been around the whole show, so I don't want to take anything if someone's here exhibiting that I haven't seen, but from what I've seen, I haven't seen anything really there, any type of mock-ups. I know there's other folks from AAM walking around saw the folks from NASA, saw all our friends from different companies, but mostly speaking. So as far as exhibiting, a couple of new concepts. There was like a ground air, like vehicle type of come out of your trunk kind of concept, all kind of concept, nothing other than, not a lot of drone either here. We didn't see a lot in the drone space. So yes, air mobility. Yes, there's a lot of chatter, but that's mostly due to Supernal making a giant splash outside.
Interesting.
So I have read in the news and had some conversations. So Pivotal made their, which used to be Opener, made their big announcement for opening their Pivotal Helix up for sale. And the company that I think Tony is talking about is XPeng, which is I think it's the biggest electric car company in China and maybe one of the
Yes,
biggest
that
in
is
the world.
it.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, and they have a whole bunch of concepts, some of which they've been flying extensively, some of which are just new. But the one with it's a car with these rotors that pop up and unfold like origami. That's been a concept they've been looking at for a while, and I think they've got that one in some form there. Plus the one that pops out of the trunk.
Yeah, those are the two I was talking about for sure. That new to me, definitely new to me.
Interesting. Well, yeah, take some pictures. We'd love to see them. Any other events news? Past, present, future?
Just a little forecast that can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
All right, good. It's I'm at a SciTech conference. That's why there's some background noise going on. But the interesting, actually, there's some interesting technical discussions on AAM related design development activity. So it's pretty impressive. 3,500 technical paper. I've never heard of and never seen that before.
Wow.
But anyway, I'm derailed a little bit, but just a little forecast. Working with some microscope, try to see if we can find a room for the working group members, all members, anybody who can make to the Vertical Flight Society Transformative Vertical Flight 2024 in Santa Clara. There's a shot that maybe we get a conference room so we can all get together, have an in-person roundtable brainstorming session. So working on it. Mike is trying to make it happen. So any results will be much appreciated. If not, we'll figure something out. So nothing firm just yet, but we'll do our best.
That would be great to get the gang together in person. Love it.
We have a room. It's just the timing and what would be best for the attendees and everything. I just got to get a couple things nailed down, but we do have a room.
All right, there you go. Yep. See. Thank you.
Thanks, Johnny.
Another reason for everybody to show up, right?
Absolutely. That's right. Well, in the interest of time, and because we've got some excellent speakers today, I'm going to go ahead and pivot to our first speaker. And I'll ask everybody, if you haven't already, if you could just mute and so that we can fully focus on our first speaker. And that is Bruce Cogan, and he's joining us from NASA. Bruce wears a lot of hats at NASA. He is, among other roles, the Small Business and Aviation Research Liaison for NASA, and that's what he's going to be talking about today. He works with all the NASA centers to develop small business research and development opportunities, which reflect their research needs and program strategies. Bruce is also responsible for coordinating all the small business proposal reviews, rankings, and selection, and has previously supported numerous aircraft development projects at NASA and the Department of Defense. Bruce has an aerospace engineering degree from the Ohio State University. And Bruce, with that, the microphone is yours. I think I'm going to be manning your slide deck, so let me see if I can share that real quick. And you can bark orders at me as soon as I can figure out how to get the thing on the screen here. Okay, tell me if you can see the first slide, Bruce. And you might be on mute because I don't hear you yet. I don't hear you yet, Bruce. And of course, you were loud and clear 4 minutes ago before we started. I could hear.
Does your headset have another mute button on it? Sometimes you get double muted. It looks like right now Zoom is muting you.
Yep, you're Zoom muted now. And now you're unzoom muted.
But still not hearing you.
Yeah, nothing yet. Bruce, give it another minute. What we can do is we've got 2 speakers today. So if you want a little bit of time to work on the tech, we can just flip flop.
How about now?
Yes, loud and clear, buddy. Perfect.
Okay. Flaky headset. So
Yeah. Can you see the slide on the screen?
I can see him.
Okay,
Andy.
perfect.
All right.
All right.
Well, hello everyone. Thanks for your intro, Andy. I'm Bruce Cogan, as I said, work for NASA in the Small Business Innovative Research area, working with our Aeronautics projects to develop solicitations for small businesses to address technology needs, which we feel are important, but we don't have quite the resources and such to work on. So it's a great opportunity to work with our small businesses and such. And today I'm going to present pretty high level. I'm going to come back, give a little more detailed briefing on SBIR and the work we're doing in eVTOL at NASA, but want to take advantage of today to talk a little bit about our solicitation, which just went live 2 days ago, and to provide some information from small businesses who may be interested in participating. Andy, next slide, if you would.
Of course, now I'm having the tech support tech issues.
Well, I'll talk,
There we go.
There we go.
Sorry about that.
So a very high level, a couple guidelines. This is for American small businesses, primarily to help them develop, commercialize their products, do research, and fund their innovations. We do allow, say, subsidies if it's a foreign-owned company, if they do have a U.S. subsidy or, I guess, a business in the United States, they can apply. There's a possibility, as well as subcontractors to a prime. But again, our kind of focus is small businesses and such. Some things we provide, basically early stage funding over our various programs, up to nearly $3 million in funding. We take no zero equity. So it's your property, you keep it and use it. NASA will use some of the technology to their own uses, but the primary focus is commercialization. We allow, experience working with the NASA experts and, hopefully infusing some of it on future NASA missions and projects. My fan example was X-57. Company started as a small business, still are, I believe, in ES Aero. They were doing actually integration testing of the actual aircraft. So a big role for a small business. That's something folks like Boeing, Lockheed normally do for us. So some exciting work. Some issues we didn't get to fly, but I still say it's a very good example of how SBIR would help small businesses. Next slide. So just high level, we do both SBIR and STTR, very similar programs. SBIR is for a small business, but they can include academic partners if they would like to. We've had some good successes that way. STTR does require a partnership with a research institute, US based as well, and basically similar funding levels. And but there's basically it's a 13-month period of performance for the phase 1 versus a 6-month on the SBIR. Unfortunately, in STTR, we have, we'll talk a little bit about the subtopics, but in STTR, we do have one very relevant to this, eVTOL, looking at full-scale testing and development and data validation on full-scale vehicles. And we've had some companies participate like that, like Electra Aero, Elikai, and Cub Crafters, which have a kind of unique idea they've been developing for high lift wings. Next slide. So again, kind of the qualifications, you do have to be a small business in the United States, 500 employees or less. We have no restrictions on how much money you're making. So we actually have some companies that have quite large funding and such, but 500 is kind of what we look at for that. And again, for an STTR, looking at a partnership with a university or research institute. Now, next. So this is kind of our 2023, 249 small businesses, 39 research institutes. We're given over basically 45 million to develop 300 different technology proposals that were selected. A little smaller than my colleague Diane and DoD, but some very good innovative ideas coming from our companies. If I was to summarize differences between, say, the DoD programs and ours are a little more focused on research-oriented tools development versus, less on actual products and stuff. I'll put a qualifier. We generally don't fund UAVs. We look at UAV technologies the same with eVTOL vehicles. We're not so interested in, helping you develop your vehicle through our program, but technologies you develop that might be useful to anyone developing these type of vehicles is certainly what we're looking at. So tools and modeling are a big focus, electrical systems, batteries, energy storage, and such, and all those are included in our solicitation. Next slide. So this is what we're talking. We'll be phase one, as I said, the proposals are due. That's kind of the entry level. We just put those solicitations out January 9th for the phase ones. The phase ones for the SBIR, STTR came out a little bit earlier. So these are basically 150K 6-month period of performance for the SBIR and 13 for the STTR. And those kind of your lead in to the phase two. So from all the phase one proposals, then we will down select several for the phase two, which is a 2-year period performance, 850K, and generally focused on prototype development, developing some hardware tool or something that, if not completely ready for use at the end of phase two, should be close for testing and hopefully a viable product. Going back then, phase three is where basically it's outside of our program, although we have some very good opportunities for matching funds. So this is when it's either commercialized or by the company, infused in a NASA project, and those are our 2 paths generally for the phase three. Diane's from AFWERX is going to talk a little bit more on our program, but it's one of the areas we're collaborating on to, seeing AFWERX as a big investor for a lot of our technologies. We also look at their technologies to see if we can do that next step. And to me, kind of exciting is looking at ways of testing these these technologies on eVTOL aircraft, such as the Joby S4. I'll let Diane talk more about that. As well as the funding, we offer 2 initiatives, ICOR and ATABA, which provide services to help companies grow as a business. Again, our program main focus is helping the small businesses grow, commercialize their technologies. So we offer these as well. In the solicitation, you can sign for these. We do provide additional funds over the set funding amounts to enable that. And you decide, companies will decide who'd like to work with, to do that. Down below is some post-phase 2 opportunities. I'll talk about that more in a future presentation. But right now, kind of my focus is get folks who are interested, writing their phase 1 proposals, which will be due March 11th. Next slide. So again, this is a dated slide. So just replace 2023 with 2024. These are rough approximation of the schedule. So we start a solicitation, do reviews for June and ranking, and generally the awards are in June of June of 2024 for the phase 1 awards. And I sent these all to Andy. These are all available. Also, a lot of this information is a website, which we'll show in later slide. Next ones. So kind of my thought is here's how to start, and I'll have something a little more near term. Definitely go to our website, sbir.nasa.gov, to get all kinds of information on the programs. There's sign up to receive emails, notifications, and such if you're not in the program. The solicitations are there now. We also have points of contact. We generally go at the centers, so the Center of Technology Transition Leads at the 4 NASA Aero Centers, generally a good first source to get information. I served the one at Armstrong before becoming the ARMD liaison, and great people to work with, very enthused about the program. So lots of good resources there, so certainly make that your first step, and of course that's where you would look at the solicitations. Next slide. Even more, again, doing there, we have libraries of information, success stories. I think we're starting blogs. I don't know if we've started those yet. Probably my big thing is videos and such, so how to write a proposal and about the process and such. So again, check that out for good resources and sign up to get on our mailing list. Next slide. So a little bit more, the 2024 solicitation, it did open January 9th. Proposals are due March 11th, and scheduled selections announced on June 4th. We do have a new system for folks who have used the electronic handbook who have submitted before. We're rolling out a new system. I saw a demo yesterday. It seems pretty straightforward, but it's definitely something, if you're familiar with the old system or new, definitely look into that, understand how to get that. And I think the next slide will show where you get access. Yeah. So again, if you're interested in solicitation, sign up again at sbir.nasa.gov.info, go to the page. And then there under the solicitations, there will be a place to put your proposal and to sign up for ProSAMs. So definitely do that, start playing with the system and understanding that there are training videos, and then also, again, points of contact to talk to folks to understand how to do this better. I'm telling folks too, we are strict on the deadline, so if possible, get things in early as possible. Next slide. I think that's it. I think we're going to hold questions to the end. I can put a couple of things in the chat, links, but again, I don't know if Andy sent it, but we can certainly send that presentation out to everybody. And thanks, everybody. Thanks everyone for time. I look forward to your proposals.
That's perfect. Thank you so much, Bruce. And we do want to do Q&A, and we'll do it at the end. And until then, we're lucky to have another speaker on a similar topic. And I wanted to introduce Lieutenant Colonel Diane Carrington, U.S. Air Force retired. She's the Senior Manager of AFWERX, Aerospace, Innovation, and Prime Partnerships. Lieutenant Colonel Carrington served in the U.S. Air Force for 24 years, including as a Global Transport Command pilot with ratings in the C-141 Starlifter and the C-17 Globemaster. And since retirement, she's been pursuing her interest in advanced air mobility by serving in leadership roles at startups and research institutes. Now at AFWERX, she's focused on developing their strategic partnerships and outreach efforts. She's a graduate of the U.S. Air Force Academy, also holds a master's degree in international relations. Thank you for being with us, Diane. The flight controls are yours.
Thanks a lot, Andy, and thanks for having me here today. It's my pleasure to be here with this group. What they asked me to do is just give you the 10,000-foot overview of AFWERX, and then I'll kind of dial in a little bit on the team that I'm involved with, which is the Aerospace Innovation and Prime Partnership team, and then happy to answer any questions afterwards. So thanks again. Again, he introduced me, Diane Carrington. For those of you that aren't familiar with AFWERX, the mission is that we bring cutting edge ingenuity from small businesses, from startups, and that's to address the most pressing issues and challenges that face the Department of Air Force. We accomplish this by creating an innovative ecosystem that delivers disruptive and airspace capabilities. It's very, very important because we're really the innovative arm of the Air Force, and AFWERX, if you're familiar with any traditional Air Force or DoD, it's very unique in that we can get things done quickly and to the battle space in a much shorter time frame than through traditional means. AFWERX is broken into 3 different divisions. It's AFVentures, and that's really the money part, kind of what Bruce was just talking about, the SBIR program, Spark, and also Prime. AFVentures funds emerging technologies that deliver Air Force and Space Force capabilities. It allows a broader access to disruptive innovation quickly again. Within AFVentures, there's 3 ways that you can get involved with the DAF SBIR program. The first is through open topic. The other is through a specific topic. And the last one is through our StratFi TACFi program. The Spark program is really unique because it connects the airmen and guardians to commercial innovators through virtual collaboration, immersive training, and also all kind of networking opportunities, allowing our guardians and airmen at the ground level to inspire ideas and cultivate a more creative force. The Spark program enables airmen and guardians to solve everyday operational problems that they face in the field. And this is done through a bottoms-up approach. So that airman that's working on that C-17 or an aircraft in the field, if he has an idea how to do things better, now there's a process that he can actually take that, he or she can take that up through their command and get it funded in a rather rapid process, assuming that it meets all the criteria. And they have to go through prototyping and everything else. So it's been very successful. If you follow AFWERX at all, they do competitions every year. And again, it's been a very successful program. And the last division is the Prime. The Prime division aims at accelerating or priming, that's where the name comes from, emerging commercial markets by incorporating military interest to help advance new technologies that exist in industry. This both benefits the commercial as well as strengthens our military capabilities. Within Prime, currently there's, go to my next slide here. Within Prime, there's currently 2 programs. The first is Agility Prime and also Autonomy Prime. Agility Prime is the Air Force transformative vertical lift program, where we work with different eVTOL commercial industries, trying to propel this 3rd revolution in aerospace and also to field the new class of air mobility systems. You see this with what's happening with Joby, Beta, and a few other OEMs that we're currently working with, flying in the field. Joby right now is currently out in Edwards Air Force Base, and Beta is down at Eglin Air Force Base in Florida. And within Agility Prime, there's really 3 key technology areas that we're focused on, and that's distributed electric and hybrid electric systems, autonomy and simplifies vehicle operations or SVO, and finally, advanced manufacturing and materials. Autonomy Prime is the newest prime right now that is actually kicking off this month. And they plan to introduce challenges that have been addressed by AFWERX, allowing companies to execute demonstration and tests at a proving grounds, which is located at Eglin, and then compete for funding and subsequent acquisitions opportunities through SBIR. And then it could eventually turn into an Air Force program of record. And their overall mission is to create a rapid autonomy testing and transformation capabilities by removing all of the existing roadblocks that are out there right now that prevent rapid, affordable, iterative testing of these autonomous aircraft. And again, if you're tracking some of the things going on with the DoD, the replicator program is very much at the top of our leadership's mind. And Autonomy Prime is a big part of getting that moving forward. There's a third just being in the works right now, and that's Integration Prime. I'd expect to hear more from that later this year or early fiscal year 25. The Aerospace Innovation and Prime Partnership team, that's the team that I'm on. That's led by Dash Devakaran. We fall under the Prime division, but we support both Agility Prime and Autonomy Prime. And our team works to support AFWERX by working with diverse partners all over the country and to support the integration of these new technologies into the NAS. We also are very focused on informing regulations and policies, and that's a very important part of our overall roadmap. Some of the key partners that we're working with, DoD, all aspects of DoD, OUSD and PBFA, NASA, of course, Bruce mentioned, we're on multiple projects and in the works with a lot of follow-on projects with NASA. FAA, we work with them almost on a daily basis on one of our projects. US DOT, as well as industry, academia, and state and local entities. Just want to highlight a few partnerships that we're currently engaged with. The interagency working group that was, it's led by Department of Transportation and incorporates 18 other federal agencies. They're working as we speak, along with our team is working with them also towards establishing advanced air mobility national strategy. That's been going on, I believe it kicked off last October timeframe of 2023, and I think the final report is due to Congress later this year, September timeframe. We're also working closely with a PBFA, Emerging Aviation Concept Subgroup, and that is leading DoD-related advanced air mobility policy development. Back in the fall of 2023, we signed an MOU with the FAA, and that expanded. Prior to that, we just had one that was focused on aircraft certification, and this is a much more broad MOU that focuses on basically anything related to advanced air mobility. We're excited about that. We also have an interagency agreement with NASA, and that's in the midst of being expanded also. And that cooperation with the FAA and NASA is so valuable and really trying to get the industry moving forward. Again, last fall, we signed a MOA with Air Force Lifecycle Management Center, Weather Directorate. This is important because they're really focusing on understanding the unique weather considerations for low altitude flight operations that are required for advanced air mobility. And we're in the midst of several direct to phase 2 SBIRs in conjunction with the Weather Directorate, specifically focused on doing some testing with weather in low altitude environments. And start for that, if the phase 2 is awarded, will be starting at Eglin Air Force Base. We have multiple CRADA efforts with academia, industry, as well as state and tribal partners. They're in different stages of development right now. But again, we really understand that having those partnerships with all those entities are very important. And then our team, site visits, that's important to understand, know what the pain points are out there, what dots need to be connected. And then conferences, that's where we could, talk with experts, see what people need, and try to be part of filling any gaps. So moving on to how we developed our strategy. As we developed our strategy to accelerate airspace modernization, we tried to address what the current challenges are and then work to create an environment to safely test new technology within the AM industry. Some of the challenges that the industry face is really no news to this group, but just to kind of try to put a short list together, we could probably triple this easily. But an overall lack of standards and policy, current saturation of the legacy air traffic controller, not a lot of unsynchronized projects going on. I know we face this with NASA a lot of times. A lot of times, they'll, so-and-so's working on this, and kind of the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. And I know that probably is happening in almost every industry across the ecosystem right now. There's a lot of security gaps out there, and for the DoD specifically, it's very critical. And that includes the counter-UAS detection mitigation requirements and really needs. And I know the commercial side is also addressing that pretty heavily right now. And then weather data and all the other ones, again, not validated ConOps, and as well as future gaps that haven't been determined yet. So the means of addressing these challenges include key components that are shown in that center diagram there. Establishing an airspace verification and validation grounds will provide us the means to sync related projects and also to align with the national strategy of airspace integration for all these emerging technologies. So that is what we're currently working on, bringing together the infrastructure, technology integration, and understanding really understanding data sharing. And that's one of the critical points we're continually addressing with the FAA and NASA, because everybody wants data, but what does that look like? How do we get it? Who should get pieces of it? How do we kind of separate what could be released to the public or OEMs? There's also a lot of IP issues to be worked with, but we truly believe that the partnership is way to address this, because no entity could do it by themselves. So establishing that means and that V&V grounds to test this will lead us to the desired outcomes that would be creating a collaborative unified airspace ecosystem that allows for, you know, scalable BVLOS and autonomous flight in the NAS, as well as on military operational theaters. It really does the military no good if we can only operate on bases. We need to be able to safely transition into the NAS. A few weeks ago, we were up at Syracuse, New York, and visited the 174th Attack Wing Group, and they operate the MQ-9. And they have all kind of issues just getting from Syracuse Airport out to the restricted areas in order to, you know, they basically have to do a tactical ascent up to Class A airspace so that they can operate. So they're kind of some of the issues that we're trying to help users resolve. And then finally, this is just a few efforts we're currently working on. You may have heard of them, but I'll dive into them and then let some time for questions. The CLUE system is led by AFRL-RI. That's the Collaborative Low Altitude UAS effort. Currently, the system is in place at MacDill Air Force Base in Florida, Eglin, and also Wright Pat. Wright Pat, it's not full up. They used it for the Air Force Marathon back in September. But they're trying to decide what is the best way to utilize it at this point. The purpose of CLUE is to give situational awareness on base. You just need to know who and what is flying near base. It's not intended for commercial use right now. So this will be eventually, if it becomes a program of record, you'll see this spreading across the country to other bases, and then eventually OCONUS. So that's one initiative. The other one that Bruce kind of hinted at before is the CCRPP we're doing in conjunction with NASA. That stands for Civilian Commercialization Readiness Pilot Program. And the purpose of this is AFWERX, NASA, and an industry consortium being led by ResilientX are building a digital infrastructure for AAM UTM in the form of a cloud-based ops center that's focused on safety, security, and scalability. The major components of this is establishing a UTM XTM, having data fusion capabilities, common operating picture, safety insurance to monitor all the systems the entire time, microweather detection and prediction, data brokering. Again, we kind of touched on that before. How do we decide what data is gathered, how it's divvied out, how do we protect that? Human factor elements, that's a huge issue as we move more towards autonomy. How does the human factor, you know, the end-to-end equation, how do we factor the safety into all these systems, and continue to adhere to all the risk management procedures, you know, that are necessary. This kicked off back in October. It's going to be a 24-month program, and we hope to have the first demo sometime March or April of 2024, and that should be at Syracuse Airport. These are just a few of the current initiatives we have. I just wanted to mention. And if you want to get in touch with us, check out our website, AFWERX.com. A ton of information there. If you want to scan those, or it's just AFWERX.com, so really easy to find us. If you have any questions, I think my email is on that first slide. We could send these slides out. And other than that, I will turn it over for questions, and thank you for your time.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Diane, I think you touched on this, but could you help me to think about how folks can initiate a relationship with AFWERX and find out more about opportunities to work together. You mentioned an open topic opportunity, and I was wondering if you could elaborate on that. And then, do you regularly publish solicitations, or is that just as they come about?
Great question. So if you go to AFWERX.com and under AFVentures, that's where they'll list the schedule for the open topics, specific topics, as well as direct to phase 2. All of that is based off of your TRL level. StratFi, TACFi are for a little bit higher TRL level. That's bridging the valley of death, as a lot of people know it as. It's really hard to get from that SBIR phase 2 into phase 3. So the TACFi, StratFi, and I'm not sure, Bruce, if NASA has an equivalent program to that, but I would say your best thing to do is go onto the website. There is a ton of information there. It tells you the whole schedule for the upcoming events, and when everything is due. And then once the solicitation is open, you can sign up and you'll to get an email of the upcoming solicitations on that website.
Outstanding. Thank you so much. And the floor is open. Does anyone want to raise a hand for questions? Bruce, I have one for you. I know when people are going to be responding to your solicitations over the next few weeks, how much time should they think about allocating to provide the information that you're looking for within those solicitations? I know that must vary, but have you heard any feedback from folks on how much time to invest?
I haven't. I think it's on your own. They're not large proposals. I've been told though they do take a little time. I'll say, my emphasis is, I do reviews and things like that. My advice to folks proposing, show how your technology, we do a lot of stress on innovation. Is it innovative? How's it different from state of the art? Which is important, but we also, how does it fit into NASA needs? And a big key factor, at least when I do reviews, is, looking at the team. Do you have a team that can do this? Can you execute it? And do you have the facilities and such? So I don't know, we have an alternative program that we're also doing Ignite, which is commercialization based. We did some awards there. They do much shorter proposals and such, but generally, I would say, if you've done, it's like a standard research proposal. We want to have good information about, the company, the innovation and such. I'll say, don't show your academic proofs and stuff like that. I've seen people show derivations of equations. A lot of times our reviewers, it's, in our case, it's other duties assigned, so they may not have the breadth of expertise, so they're looking at the innovation and such like that. So we look at commercialization, having a path, but for the phase ones, that's less important. It's really a technical score. So show that, your team, you're innovative, you can do the work, it's feasible, and go from there.
Excellent. What other questions do we have? Bruce is trying to give away $1 million. You should be asking him a lot of questions about how to get his money. Okay, there we go. Kirk. And you're on mute. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you so much for everyone. Lieutenant Carrington, especially appreciative of your work, and have a little affiliation with some of the AI work for first responders down at JPL. So thank you also to the whole NASA team. I'm going to put a quick note in the chat and just say, my domain is public safety, and I'll be passing this on to a bunch of folks. I do have one TRL-9 augmented reality computer vision for those who might be fighting an unfortunate fire in an aircraft, might be of interest. I'll just throw it in the chat. Thank you, and I hope to see some of you in Santa Clara next month. That's really the statement, Andrew, is hope to see some folks in 20 odd days.
Me
Thank
too.
you.
Thanks, Kirk. Who's next with questions? While you're thinking of your next question, Ken Swartz was nice enough to post one. in the chat, which is Diane, does AFWERX publish a summary of the eVTOL companies it has commercial relationships with? What other aircraft developers besides Joby, Beta, etc., is the Air Force funding? Is there an annual intake of new companies? And that's from Ken Swartz.
Yes, and I said I will drop the link. They do provide that information, and there's a formal process. They call it the air race. There's a formal process that you need to go through in order to get in that. So, I mean, they probably have had, you know, hundreds of people try to submit over the years, and you have to make it through, you know, different gates, if you will, in order to get into that. So I will drop that information. They recently updated it. So if I can't get to it right now, I'll send it to Andy, and then you could distribute it to the group.
Happy to. Yeah.
But it is
Send follow-ups.
once they enter it, it's public knowledge. So it's readily available.
Got it. Who's next with a question? I'll keep asking all day long, but I want to give everybody an opportunity.
I'll ask
I have a
ask
quick-
Bruce a question. Is someone else out? Go ahead, Ferdinand.
No, just a quick question out of curiosity, and I don't know if you covered it, but on the SBIR funding, if someone has been granted a SBIR 1 funding, are they likely to get a SBIR 2, or what's the percentage of companies that then get a second SBIR funding, out of curiosity?
I'll put, you know, from the NASA, generally it's about 50%. So depending how many phase ones, about half of them go forward. It's usually a case of more of our funding levels versus, you know, we've had a lot of good phase 2 proposals, but generally it's about 50%. So we look at each subtopic we have, and generally we do about 7 or 8 phase 1 awards. So about half of those will go to phase 2.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, and I would say on the Air Force side, it's probably similar, but it varies widely because its technology is so different, and certain rounds it might be very strong, and then other rounds it may not. So 50 is probably a good general number, but again, it varies. It varies greatly depending on the technology.
And hands up if you've got a question. Otherwise, I'll ask one. Diane, we talked about open topic, phase 1, phase 2, TAC-FI and STRAT-FI. Is there a flow there? Do people, is it sort of that people generally jump in at phase 1 and then move to phase 2 and then TAC-FI and STRAT-FI?
Yes, most people, and see if I could, I have that open here. Most people come in at phase 1. There is a thing called directive phase 2, and that's if you have a higher TRL level that, you know, some companies don't need to go to 2. Really, phase 1 is kind of like you have an idea, you have a concept, and you just need a little bit of money and support to move that forward. So it's going to be a smaller dollar amount. As you progress, and if you have a higher TRL and you could prove that to the Air Force, then you can get the directive phase 2. The natural process would be SBIR phase 1 to phase 2. But again, it's unique, and they've created it this way so that it opens for more possibilities for small companies. There's some people that don't know about us, and they come to us and they're ready at TRL 9. Well, we don't want to put them on a SBIR phase 1. It just doesn't make sense. It's a waste of time and money. And it doesn't really benefit the government or help them commercialize. So that's why that directive phase 2 was created. There's other companies you get through phase 1 and phase 2, and now you have to go find an end user somewhere and trying to get that money. So that's where those other programs, STRAT-FI and TAC-FI, comes into. So that's a higher dollar amount, but there's going to be a higher dollar amount of matching funds required also.
That's interesting. So TAC-FI and STRAT-FI, do I understand correctly? Those are programs for when a specific DoD partner has been identified for that product or service?
Exactly. And that's the companies, that's a small company's job to find them. So the Air Force, sometimes it comes the other way. The Air Force might come with a need and say, can you find someone that matches that? So they do have they have companies out there that actually do that matchmaking for you. But a lot of times it's the company can't find that end user. So that's why the phrase, if you will, the valley of death was created, because they have this great idea, but they can't get, to the next step. So that's where the StratFi TACFi comes in. And there's not a lot, like that's not a high percentage of the money that's giving out, but it is a higher dollar amount.
Got it. And I don't want to run the table, but I will. Who has the next question? While people are thinking of that, should we talk about, for those that don't know, should we talk about what TRL stands for? Technical readiness level, is that right?
Yes, that's technical readiness.
And if I remember correctly, we can you've on your websites, you've got sort of the categories. How do we categorize our
Yeah,
product?
can you see my screen here?
Yes, we can see the website.
Okay, so I'm just going through here to show you. If you come to this, and I dropped this in the link, it has all the dates that you need. It also will walk you through what I discussed: open topic, specific topic, StratFi, TACFi, and give you all the information. They've done a fantastic job, with the website. It talks you through how the program works, what are the different steps, and again, dollar amounts, what you need to do. And it'll also tell you, if you come up here, it'll tell you what the current ones are. And again, you could sign up to have this delivered to you whenever the next topic becomes available. So check out the website, very informative.
Outstanding. No, there's been a lot of work has been put into that. Bruce, our clock's ticking in terms of replying to your solicitations. What do we need to do to hit our marks? We need to get going here, don't we?
Yeah, you do. It is March, 11th, so it does give some time, but definitely get on it. We always try, there's this solicitation, we only do one a year, so take advantage of it. Once you're done with that, though, if you didn't apply or, didn't get selected, we offer, access to our subject matter experts, to get a better idea. Fortunately, we're on a blackout, so we can't talk too much about it, but, look at the, definitely go to our website, get on the system, put something in there, and one of our big things is we definitely try to provide good feedback. So if you don't win, we'll give you some good ideas on how to improve next time. So yeah, but we do, if you need technical support and you have questions, reach out to the contacts, reach out to me, I'll put it as well. We can certainly help you through the process and such. And
that's perfect.
I told Kirk to look at it. We've been doing some augmented reality. We are definitely looking more at, emergency response and public service and such, getting more of that in our content with our Acero project. So definitely take a look.
Perfect. And we have just 1 minute left, and just in time, Richard posted an excellent question, which I meant to ask and I didn't remember to. His question is, if you're a non-US company, can you apply for AFWERX funding, or do you need to be a US registered company? In other words, how do our friendly nations get involved?
That's a great question, and I would probably defer it to our F-Ventures team, but I'm fairly certain you need to be a US company. There's some cases where you might have a parent company that's overseas, but you have a US headquarters. Then as long as they meet the criteria, they could fall under it. But for the most part, they're US companies. There might be some instances where they're not, but I would say 99% certainty they're US companies.
Yep, that was my understanding as well. And how about if there's a US primary, but they're using a component for testing or integration that is a subcontractor that's outside of the US, that's maybe in England? How could that be something that could work? Where they're submitting together, you got a primary contractor and a sub that's outside the US? But the primary is in the US?
I would say that would probably be, they would do their due diligence looking in that. Bruce, do you know how NASA looks at that?
Yeah, we do allow it, but there's some justification that has to be done. So we can have foreign companies as subcontract. There is some justification though required in the proposal.
Excellent. That's fantastic. This is such a great intro to the R&D partnership and funding opportunities that are available. And I want to thank you both for being here today. This is wonderful, and hope to see more of both of you. And I hope everybody submits and builds relationships with Diane and Bruce, because they're doing a lot for us, and we really appreciate it. So thank you both.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
With
Have a
that,
good
we'll
day.
wrap things up.
Take care.